Power Platform Admin Center is great, but if you like to automate things, you're probably looking for an API. Today, my fellow PowerCat lead talks with Lane Swenka about the new consolidated management APIs for Power Platform, and also how they can give you a first peek at capabilities before you see them in the Admin Center. Today on PowerCat Live.
Hello everybody, I'm Lee Zucat. I'm here for the PowerCat Live presentation with Lane Swenka. I work with the PowerCat team directly, and today we're going to be discussing the Power Platform API feature that Lane has been working on. And let's just jump right in. What are these APIs, and then who are they for?
If you have ever found yourself reverse engineering our PowerShell commandlets or using Fiddler to capture network traces in the admin center to see what API calls are being made so that you can go scale certain processes across your tenant, Power Platform API is here for you to make your life a lot easier. And so really what it is it's taking various different internal services and individual APIs that we have across the platform, from things like licensing, managing Azure pay-as-you-go billing policies, querying for capacity, managing applications and installing things from app source, environments, governance, policies, you name it. We are bringing all of these different APIs together into a single surface so that you have an easier way to consume this, to discover this, and eventually to automate anything that you would need from a management perspective of the platform.
So I think one of the key things we want to point out here is that this is really an API system for the admin team.
Yeah, exactly. This really is for the IT management team to, again, scale their use of the platform. If you have one or two environments, it's maybe easy to go in and click a few buttons and do things. But as soon as you start having dozens or hundreds, or even in some cases, customers have thousands of environments, using the admin center and clicking buttons on every single environment, it just doesn't really scale well. And so that's where the APIs come in and our tooling that goes with that as well. So I think instead of me just kind of describing it, what I can potentially do is just go right into a demo. So in this particular environment, I've installed this Dynamics 365 inventory visibility application. And I would love to actually now install that. I've tested it. It looks great. I now want to install that across the rest of the environments in my tenant. So here I have another sandbox environment that does not have that particular application installed. So we'll go validate that. And so as I'm trying to do this across my tenant, I go online, I look at the documentation, I see, hey, there's this Power Platform API. Maybe that can help me here. I go over to the technical REST documentation, and I can see, sure enough, there's this ability to install an application package from AppSource. And so what I've already done is I've set up a logic app because I want to demonstrate that this doesn't have to be done within Flow. This could be done from something like Postman or a logic app with the HTTP connector. Anything that works with REST APIs can make the call. And so I will go ahead and just run this really quickly. And what we'll do is take a look at the output of this particular call. And actually, I'll look up the inventory service. And this is the thing that we're looking to install. So I'll grab the name. And so what you can see here is I'm calling the API, passing in this particular inventory service application name. I'll hit save. We'll run this again really quickly. And now what I can do is actually, if I hit refresh here, back on my environment in the admin center, I'll eventually see in real time this Dynamics 365 inventory visibility applications start to get installed. And that's just one example of using Power Platform API to install applications. There are other endpoints onboarded already today as well for doing things like setting up Azure pay-as-you-go billing policies, and we're essentially adding more capabilities to the API surface over time.
And how is this better than what was before? I guess let's make that a crisp point for the folks.
Absolutely. So really, before Power Platform API, there really wasn't a single API surface for customers. There actually wasn't really any of our APIs publicly documented. What a lot of customers have resorted to is using our PowerShell modules, kind of reverse engineering those to see what the API calls were, or as I mentioned, capturing network traces in the admin center. Again, it really just put a lot of the onus on the customer, and it was very difficult to do this because, again, a lot of these things just weren't publicly documented anyway.
So the APIs were out there. They weren't obvious, and they certainly weren't documented. And you're bringing that all together into a one-stop shop.
Exactly. So now with this unified API surface, customers can essentially integrate one time, and now you get all of the different features and functions that are a part of that, and it has unified authentication, authorization. We're harmonizing things like filter support, paging, all of the basic contracts that you would want from a unified API surface is what you get with Power Platform API. And as you saw in the demo, we have a technical REST reference documentation, and that is always up to date now because we're using this automation pipeline. And so anytime we come out with a new feature, we'll do that API first. You'll get to see the details of how to exercise that feature, even though it may not be a new button yet in the UI within the admin center. You'll always be able to see new features and functions light up at the API layer and be able to test those out before they kind of go generally available.
And how are our enterprise users using or focusing in on this feature? What's it bring to them?
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of our enterprise customers are doing CI/CD pipelines. So again, kind of getting back to the demo we saw earlier, being able to create an environment and install all of the first-party Microsoft solutions as well as ISV solutions, and then follow that up with your custom Dataverse solutions and packages, so that you can have a full environment ready for testing and deploying any of your customizations. And so one piece that's been missing is that ability to install applications from AppSource. And that's one of the first features we've enabled here on the Power Platform API. In addition to that, customers are wanting to look at billing policies and Azure Pay-as-you-go. So that's another feature we've enabled as part of the public preview, where if you have a new environment, you may want to default that into a Azure Pay-as-you-go subscription, so that departments like finance or departments like warehousing and inventory, they can have their environments and automatically pay for those with their subscription versus another department. So being able to automate that. Yep.
That sounds like it's what's on the roadmap is what we just walked through it there, correct?
Yeah. So when it comes to roadmap, the billing policies and the ability to install applications, those are currently part of the public preview. But we have a lot of new things that we're trying to add to this API over the next several semesters. As you can imagine, environment management capabilities, so being able to create environments, copy, backup, restore, all of the different lifecycle operations that you would typically do on an environment, that's being added to the gateway. But not only lighting up new API endpoints and API capabilities, but also tooling. So if you've ever used our tooling and maybe felt some disconnectedness between what is supported in the Flow connector, the Power Platform for Admins connector, right? There's also the PowerShell modules as well. And they have different capabilities because they're maintained manually by two different teams. And so automating all of our tools, be it a connector, making sure that that works in Flow and in Logic Apps, new PowerShell module, all of these things will be kept up to date with the documentation because all of that will be automated going forward as well. So that's kind of the plan. Yep.
I appreciate all that. Where can folks go to find out more information?
Every October and April, we have upcoming features that we're committing to delivering. And so that's where you can look to see, okay, hey, what new features and functions are coming to Power Platform API, as well as all of the related tooling as well.
Well, thank you very much, Lane. I really appreciate you stopping by. And
You're most welcome. Thank you guys so much for having me, and looking forward to your feedback.
Thank you very much. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye.